So on Thursday, July 11th of 2019, did you learn of a shooting at 5531 South Four Peaks Place in Chandler?
I did.
How did you learn about it?
I actually had learned by listening to the radio, or heard the call kick out and of the shooting at the Four Peaks location, and then soon after that received a phone call to assist detectives at that location.
When you arrived at the scene, can you describe for us what you saw?
Yes, I believe I parked to the west of the location. When I arrived, I saw crime scene tape had already been placed. There were emergency vehicles such as fire vehicles and police present already. I then walked towards the front of the house where other detectives had gathered and spoke with them regarding the case, and then we were given tasks.
When you arrived, was Alex Cox still on scene, or did you see him?
I did see him from a distance. He was seated on the sidewalk. I did not get close to him and did not know who he was at the time.
When you arrived, do you know if Lori Vallow was there?
I never saw her.
When you arrived and you said you met with other detectives, were you given an assignment or task to do?
I was.
What was that?
I was asked to assist Detective Coons with the crime scene and basically be an extra set of eyes and hands for him when processing this crime scene.
Okay. So you're with Detective Coons. Was there also anyone else assisting you?
At some point, Detective Werther was there as well, and we had a patrol officer that was standing by helping us, and also a crime scene investigator with us.
Okay. Before you can enter the house, did you obtain or did you have someone write a search warrant so you could go in the house?
Yes.
So does that mean you guys had to just kind of wait around for that to be approved?
Absolutely.
And then ultimately, did you enter the scene around 11:53 in the morning?
We did.
When you were helping to process this scene, you were not the case agent, right?
No, I was not.
Were you aware of the time of the 911, when the 911 call was placed?
I was aware at the time, at that particular moment, no, I was not.
Okay. Is that something you learned later?
Yes,
Did you include that in your report at some point?
I did.
Did you get the time correct in your report?
I did not.
Have you since verified through listening to the 911 call and looking at the CAD report of the time of that 911 call?
Yes, the correct time on the 911 call is 8:36 hours that I noticed through the 911 call and CAD in reviewing for this. Then I did notice that in my supplemental report, I noted the wrong time of 8:32.
Okay. Were you aware of who made the 911 call?
I was.
And who was that?
Alex Cox.
So when you are finally allowed to enter the home, can you tell us what you observed when you first walked in?
Well, prior to walking in, we had a crime scene technician go through and take overall photographs of the entire residence. After that, we utilized the Lizard Q system to take additional photographs. Once that was complete, then we made entry in to make our own observations. The front door faces to the west of this home, and as you enter, there's a small foyer. I believe it was white and black checkered flooring. And then you step into what I refer to as a great room that had no furnishings. There was a mirror on the north wall, a large picture window on the east wall, a mirror on the south wall, and a mirror on the west wall. I noticed the body of the deceased, later identified as Charles Vallow, laying on the western portion of the room. He was in what we call the supine position, with his head to the north and his feet to the south, and his arms on each side of his body.
Okay. When you saw Charles Vallow, did he appear to be fit?
Yes.
When you went into the scene, did you notice a lot of blood around the scene?
We did not.
When you were looking at Charles Vallow, you told us that his hands were each to his sides, correct?
Correct.
Did you notice any blood on his left hand?
I did.
Where did you notice that?
I noticed some blood in the webbing we call the webbing of Charles's left hand. And in seeing that blood and with not seeing any other blood, the only source of blood for that to come in contact with would have been on Charles' chest. So I felt that that could have been from him placing his hand to his chest at one point before finally coming to rest.
So the flooring around where Charles's hand was, there was no blood around that floor area.
Correct.
I'm going to put up, if I can have the Elmo, Exhibit 40. There we go. All right, so what we see here in Exhibit 40, when you arrived, fire had already gone in, done whatever treatment, and removed themselves from the residence, right?
Yes.
So you can still see some of their equipment attached to Charles, correct?
Correct.
And then what we're looking at here is his left hand.
Yeah, his left hand on top of his left thumb and on the side of his left index finger.
And I'm putting 41 up. Is that what you observed?
Yes.
So even around Mr. Vallow, did you notice a lot of pooling of blood around him?
I did not.
Did you notice more sort of after the medical examiner's office came and rolled him and moved him around?
Yes.
You talked about mirrors in that room. Did you notice any cracks or damage to any of those mirrors?
I did not.
Did you see the bat in the room?
I did.
Was that on Charles's right or left side?
It was on his right side above his, more north of his head.
And when you are processing that room, are you looking for any potential blood evidence that's not just on or around Charles Vallow?
Yes, we are. We're constantly looking for any kind of blood evidence that would help us tell the story. Any kind of movement of somebody who had bled and then moved through the house to try to better explain what had happened.
So in this case, did you check that wood floor in that called great room for any blood drops or spatters or smears that might be on the floor that wasn't like right under Charles?
Yes.
Did you find any?
No.
Did you go into the other rooms in the house and help search for any other blood evidence?
I did.
And did you note any blood drops or smears or anything else on the flooring or walls in any other rooms?
Not on the flooring or walls. The only other location of blood that was present would have been on the faucet of the kitchen sink.
And that was that small drop right on the faucet itself? Or?
I would more smear, or I wouldn't call it a drop, but yeah, there was a red substance consistent with blood on that faucet.
Okay. Were you looking around the room for any towels or shirts or anything else that may have been used to, whether it was clean up or stop bleeding?
We were.
Did you find any?
No.
At some point, as you are going through the scene, did you go into what I'm going to call the pink room?
The pink room,
With the gun?
Yes, I did.
Put up an exhibit here. When you went into that room, were you, and I guess I can call it the pink as well as black and white striped room, Exhibit 71. Did you observe this orange duffel bag, the garbage bag with some clothes, and then the gun laying on the floor next to the duffel bag?
I did.
Were you responsible for making that gun safe?
I was.
What did you do to make the gun safe?
So obviously, we, with help of our crime scene technician, we photograph the gun, the bag, and everything as it is in place. That's how we found it. At that point, I would place some gloves on and pick up the gun, also looking for any kind of blood or biological evidence on the gun while I'm looking at the gun. I would eventually do what's called making the gun safe. I would remove the magazine from the gun, set that aside, and then cycle the slide to remove any kind of cartridge that's inside of the chamber. In this case, this is a Springfield XD handgun. The magazine was released and removed. The cycle was manipulated, and a single .45 caliber cartridge fell out.
I'm going to put up a couple. We see in 78 is sort of that your hand holding the magazine that you removed,
It is.
and then 86 is that your hand with the single casing?
Yes, it is.
When you were going through this evidence, was there inside that orange bag that we see in Exhibit 82 a gun case?
Yes,
Did that gun case have any locks on it?
it did not.
It's just plastic clasp to hold it closed?
Correct.
And was there extra magazines inside that gun case?
There were.
Now, when you process a scene and the evidence is then taken to police impound, do you sometimes go through it better there away from the scene?
Yes.
I'm going to put up Exhibit 81 here, that orange duffel bag. I think it's this way. Did you later go through the duffel bag?
I did.
And is there an outside pocket on that?
There is.
Did you locate a debit card in there?
I did.
If I can have my paralegal approach with 234? Do you recognize Exhibit 234?
I do.
And what is that?
It's a health savings account card in the name of Alexander Cox.
State will move to admit Exhibit 234.
Any objection?
I hear him. I'm thinking.
234 is admitted.
So, Alexander Cox, is that the name of the person who called 911?
Yes, it is.
And when you are, let me ask you a little bit about the gun a little more. So this gun that you made safe, when you're looking at it, did you look at all the sides of it to see if there was, again, any blood evidence on it?
Yes.
Did you see any?
I did not.
And that's something you are going to check to make sure you don't potentially change the way it looks?
Correct.
Did you know when you went in to process the scene that Alex Cox had an injury to the back of his head?
I don't know. When I went in, no, I did not.
Did you learn at some point that he did?
Yes.
Knowing that he had an injury to his head, did that play in? Well, let me ask you, when did you learn that?
I believe it was during the investigation. We learned that Alex had sustained an injury to his head. So with that, made us more aware of potential other blood evidence, and that's why we were looking for that.
Okay. So is that why one of the reasons why you're looking on this gun to see if there was any blood transferred from him potentially touching his injury and manipulating the gun at some point?
Yes, from our understanding, it was there was some sort of assault with this. or assault with a bat, and then Alex then retrieved to the bedroom to get the gun. So our understanding is if you get hit with a bat and you're bleeding, that you would hopefully bring some sort of blood evidence onto the gun, and then what happens after, there's more blood evidence as well.
So you would have documented that and then made sure it was collected if you'd seen that.
Absolutely.
But here we photographed the gun without any blood evidence on it.
Yes.
Do you also, when you obtain a gun, look at the serial number?
Yes.
Why is that relevant?
We want to know who it returns to, who owns that gun.
And did you determine who owned that gun?
We did.
Who owned the gun, the Exhibit 247, that's Springfield?
Alex Cox.
Now, at some point, we've heard the medical examiner came to remove Charles Vallow's body, correct?
Yes.
And were you present when that happened?
I was.
And did you and the others that were processing the scene clean up the blood on the floor that had been left underneath him?
I did.
And when you were cleaning up the blood, did you notice anything on the floor that stood out to you where he had been located?
Yes, I did.
What did you notice?
When cleaning up the blood, I immediately noticed a defect in the floor consistent with a bullet strike that would have been close to or right on this area where the exit wound would have been on Charles' left shoulder.
So you had seen the floor and been processing that room while Charles was laying there, correct?
Right.
And once his body was removed, there's a pool of blood underneath where he was.
Correct.
And in that area, I'm going to put up Exhibit 60, is where you then observed that bullet strike.
That is correct.
I'm going to put up a little bit further back of one. Hold on. Let me put up 56. Although it's harder to see, the marker itself is next to where that bullet strike is.
Yes.
So when you are seeing this, what comes to your mind at that point?
Well, in this scene, we're trying to make sense of kind of what happened with limited information. We know we have 2 casings, and we know we have 2 projectiles. We have a projectile that's into the wall, and we also have a projectile that is near Charles' body. We believe, obviously, the first shot or a shot went through and through his body, causing 2 holes and entered into the wall. The other shot we have is a low left abdominal entry, and what we believe, and not confirmed until autopsy, but a upper left trajectory near his shoulder. We looked through the room to where this projectile could have exited throughout the room and then landed in that spot near where Charles was. And we did not see anything until his body was removed and the blood was cleaned up.
So you're looking like walls and trying to find any other location where the bullet may have struck and bounced back and ended up in the floor there.
Correct.
And you didn't find any defects or any holes or anything other than the one bullet that was in that baseboard.
Correct.
So when you see this now, did you feel that was consistent with the bullet striking the floor underneath Charles and him being on the floor when he was shot?
100%.
Because of that, did you end up actually cutting out and collecting that board?
We did.
And then you said that you were wanting to know if that was confirmed during an autopsy, correct?
Yes.
Did you attend the autopsy?
I did not.
During this initial investigation on July 11th of 2019, did you ever search Charles Vallow's rental car?
I did not.
So Lori Vallow had his car all day and nobody looked inside of it.
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
Initially, as a person who was just working the scene with Detective Kuntz, did that sort of end your investigation or your involvement for at least July 11th.
Yes.
What was your next involvement in this case?
My next involvement had some, prior to June of 2020, June of 2020 is when I was assigned the status of case agent in this case. Prior to that, I did help Detective Moffat with analyzing and just sorting through iCloud phone records and other data for him.
So we have heard about cell phones that had been extracted from retired Detective McDonald. That was Charles Vallow's cell phone. So was
Yes.
that one item of evidence that had been collected?
Yes,
Did you review any of that extracted data?
yes, I did.
Did those extractions include things from emails,
Yes,
text messages,
yes,
sort of anything you might expect to see on anyone's smartphone?
correct.
When you are looking through this, did you look through both Charles' iPhone extraction and later some iCloud account extractions?
I did.
What are iClouds?
The best way to describe an iCloud is it's cloud storage for Apple products. If you have a MacBook or a phone or a Mac computer and you use an iCloud email address, and then the information from all of those would be stored under one iCloud account.
So someone can intentionally store things there?
Yes, you can choose what you want to store in there. A lot of times there's a default on there, but you can go through and manipulate as to what you want saved in your cloud or backed up in your cloud.
So there can also be things, if a default is on, that are, people may be not even aware that are being saved up there.
Correct.
I say up there as if it's really a cloud, but whatever. When you were reviewing this data, did you, without going into anything specifics, did you see interactions between Charles Vallow and Lori Vallow prior to about June 27th of 2019?
I did.
And did you see interactions with Charles Vallow and Lori Vallow after June 27th of 2019?
Yes,
Did you see a change in those interactions?
definitely.
Did you learn from reviewing Charles Vallow's cell phone extraction and iCloud accounts that Charles had found an email sent to Chad Daybell that was purportedly written by him?
Yes, I did.
Did that involve an email address, kkwalker75 at Yahoo?
Yes, it did.
Did Charles Vallow, in fact, save a copy of that email into his account?
Yes, he did.
In reviewing Charles Vallow's cell phone extraction and iCloud account, prior to this time in June, had you seen any use of this kkwalker75 at yahoo.com email address? Prior to June 27th of 2019, had you seen Charles Vallow utilizing that email address?
Had I seen Charles utilize it? Sorry, no, I did not.
Okay. So even though you're going through his account, you're seeing emails by him, right?
Right.
And you're seeing emails that are saved into his own iCloud account,
Yes.
but nothing in there was saved prior to June of 27th of 2019 relating to kkwalker75 at yahoo.com.
That is correct.
Was the first time that you kind of became aware of this account when you saw that Charles had saved an email and then began texting Lori Vallow about it?
Yes.
Did you find multiple text messages or SMS messages from Charles Vallow to Lori Vallow relating to this letter?
Yes, I did.
Did you find evidence that Charles Vallow, after discovering this email, contacted Chad Daybell?
Yes.
Did you find evidence that after Charles Vallow found this KK Walker 75 email address, that Charles Vallow contacted Chad Daybell's wife, Tammy Daybell?
Yes.
Was a search warrant executed on Yahoo for that KK Walker 75 at yahoo.com?
It was.
If I can have my paralegal approach with 289.